Welcome back to On the Record. I'm here with Joe Quaglia, who is the Senior Vice President of U.S. Marketing for Tech Data. And we're at, of course, a Tech Data event. Welcome to the show once again.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Or at least we'll see at the end, and hopefully anytime. Distribution has changed so much over the past, I would say, 2 years. Like it used to be, 20 years ago, pick, pack, ship, and it stayed that way for, I guess, almost 30 years. Then they added credit facilitation and things like that. But it's more, what's going on and why?
Well, I think we still, we obviously do, that's still core to our business. We still do a lot of pick, pack, and ship. That's what we call our traditional broadline business, where you have a core set of more commodity-based products that require a lot of volume, and we do a lot of that pick, pack, and ship, and that still is a core fundamental of our business. And it requires incredible execution on a daily basis to do that business. And we'll always be in that business. But what's dynamically changed, perhaps over the last couple of years, is the need by our reseller base to drive more high-value solutions. And one example of that is 4 years ago, we created our Advanced Infrastructure Solutions division. We saw that the x86 architecture, the industry standard architecture, was moving at a very rapid pace into the enterprise as well as into the small and medium business. And lo and behold, that was the right move for us to mobilize our resources in that area so that we can specialize and help resellers drive that business into the market and support them and get them the kind of resources that they need. So we've kind of morphed from traditional, pick, pack, and ship to very specialized business units that are very specific to either an industry, a certain product category, or a certain segment in the marketplace that we recognize are higher value, require more complexity, and therefore require a lot more support than what a traditional broadline business would require.
So let's back up for a minute. When you were talking earlier today, you were throwing around some statistics. So you're a $24 billion company. The average or the average invoice that you put through or that you do is about how much?
Well, we've got to deliver $100 million a day. That's on average what we do on a daily basis. You just do the math, $24+ billion. It really rounds out to about $100 million a day. Our average order size is less than 1,000. So when you add and do the math, that's a lot of execution of a lot of orders and a lot of processing that's occurring on a daily basis.
And that's, like you said, it's the core business, and that's when people think of distributors. And even right now, if you look at my audience, I'll guarantee you that most of them think of you as just doing that right now.
Right.
But these new services, so you've been giving me sort of the high picture. Now let's get into some real tactical parts of it.
Sure.
Like, what services are they?
So when you look at what we just announced in February, our Stream 1 platform, we basically took 2 years to develop it, and what we said is if we're going to add more value into the supply chain, we're going to have to include a lot more innovation so that we can reduce the complexities, and therefore we believe we're going to add more value to our reseller partners as well as to our vendor partners. When we're adding more value in the middle of the supply chain, there's a lot more margin in it for not only Tech Data, but we're offering more value to our customers, and therefore they can monetize that and make more money for themselves.
And then, of course, the vendors are always happy because it means that they're selling more of their products.
That's right. So, when Tech Data makes an investment, and by the way, our margins are very thin, right? And they're very thin in all of distribution. When we make a decision to invest in an initiative or a product or a solution, we're betting on it that it's going to be, it's going to succeed. But when we do invest, we think in terms of we want the entire end-to-end solution. We don't just want one part of it. We want to control the entire part of it, because the more control we have, the more value we think we can offer the entire supply chain, and everybody can monetize it in the future.
So you're talking about going from devices to solutions, software solutions,
sure,
and then from there into the cloud.
That's right.
And you guys are now really bringing actual real solutions in there, as opposed to being pushing products. And
That's
there's
right.
nothing wrong with pushing products.
That's right.
there isn't any margin.
And I'll give you an example. I talked today about our digital signage solution. Back 3, 4, 5 years ago, we would just be distributing display panels. Today, we're distributing the display panel, the software that manages the content, the services that go into installing and configuring. We're providing the content creation now that we announced this week, and all of that now is being sold as an entire solution. So if you can imagine a reseller who now goes into a hospital and sells a digital signage solution, they're not just selling the hardware, they're selling all of the peripherals, services and software and attachments that go along with it. And they make more money doing that.
And my guess is that your next piece that you'll add to it is TD agency.
That's right.
To do the graphics and all that.
That's that content creation piece that we just announced with our partner NEC this week. And that's our ability to say, we can create that content that once it's all installed, you can go to your customer and deliver a service now that is value add.
So the nice thing about that is that for a small VAR, most VARs are small, they may only have 1 or 2 companies that they're working with that ever want digital, and they don't have to become an expert in it.
Right.
The expertise is coming from you.
Well, that's why, that's the genesis of Tech Data, is we're in business for our customers, and our customers are resellers. They span the globe from an enterprise reseller who has lots of resources all the way down to the small shop that has only a few employees. And we have to service that entire market, all those markets. The lion's share of the reseller base out there today, it falls into what we call small and medium reseller, who generally cater to the small and medium-sized business. And they don't have the resources. They don't have the marketing, which our TD agency can provide them as an extension to their marketing organization. They don't have the technical resources to do configurations, and that's why we do configurations on 2 coasts now. We have an integration and config center on the East Coast, and we also have one now on the West Coast. And that's, again, another service that they otherwise could not support because they just don't have the bandwidth, the expertise, the money, and the resources to do it.
And then even in the mobility part or in the devices, you're now even helping them be able to become basically the person who provides the wireless service.
Sure.
Services and all that.
It's just like their customer walking into a Verizon store. Instead, they're walking into the reseller store. And the reseller store is basically all of the services and all of the support that they generally provide as a trusted advisor. Now they can come to them for their mobility solutions instead of dealing with the carriers and dealing with other third parties that they would have to go to in order to fulfill those types of solutions.
So you're really going from being strictly a box movers to now moving things through the cloud, moving things through any whatever way they need it.
Well, I don't. Box mover might be a different term that I would use, but I think to your point earlier, Robert, going from the notion of being a pick, pack, and ship guy, and we're always going to do that. But when you move into the virtual world, you have to think differently about how you're going to add value to your partners and help them monetize that new transformational IT term called cloud computing. We believe with Stream 1, with the fact that we're going to be supporting thousands of titles of applications, licenses, and services like infrastructure as a service, we can provide that conduit to the channel and allow them to monetize those services and provide that service as easy as it would be in the physical world. And that's the investment we're making with Stream 1, for example.
Which is really interesting because you're saying that your core is staying the same. And I guess to a degree it is, but the world's changing. Where do you expect cloud to be? You personally, I'm not talking about tech data.
Sure.
Because if you goof up on it, now we can just blame you.
Right.
But where do you think the cloud will be in 5 years?
Well, no doubt about it, the cloud is in the immature state of evolutions of computing. And we're just at the beginning stages of it. The promise of cloud computing is definitely there in terms of the cost savings and use only what you need and reduce expenses and so forth. However, adoption is going to take a much longer time than what the perceived benefits are day one. And as a result of that, in my opinion, I think not only is the traditional way of computing going to be around as long as I'm in this business, but cloud computing is going to continue to drive newer and newer growth opportunities. And I do think it's a big number. You've heard numbers out there from 150 billion to 200 billion, anytime between 2015 and 2020. I don't know what that forecast is really going to be, but the one thing I do know is that it's going to require companies like Tech Data, who are in the middle of the supply chain, to ensure that we can get vendor solutions into the hands of end users through our SMB resellers.
So, interesting point. Where I was just going to go to is, although you're going from physical products to non-physical products, if you want, but the core of what you're doing is you're taking and making it easier for the vendors and the VARs to go to market together.
Right.
And you act as that, well, as you were, the conduit in between.
Right.
And it's really, from a really, really high end, there is no real difference.
There really isn't. It's physical versus virtual. You still have the requirement of Tech Data having such a large supply chain and a lot of relationships with the resellers that the vendor community could never afford to get after. And so they use us as a route to market, whether it be physical or virtual. We still have, we're still a bank. We still provide a lot of credit into the channel. So whether that's physical or virtual, you still need to provide a level of credit in order to transact solutions either way. We also have sales reps and a sales team that has long-lasting relationships with resellers. Those resellers are still going to use those conduits into Tech Data for advice, consultation, service, product solutions, and so forth. And then, of course, all of the technical resources that we have at Tech Data, for all the reasons why resellers use those resources today in the physical world, nothing's going to be different when you go to the virtual world. In fact, I would believe that it would be even more complicated, and you would need to rely on more resources from your distributor, in this case Tech Data, than you ever have in the past.
So for the people who aren't in the cloud yet, and there's a lot of people who are VARs, I'm talking about, they or channel partners or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, first of all, look at the strategic direction you have on the balance between product revenue and service revenue. If you're not moving into a world where you're balancing those two buckets, you're going to have a challenge. And what I mean by that is if you're still almost 100% product, there's not enough margin long term for you to stay competitive with other resellers that have gone to that new model. I've seen many resellers move into the services world, either through consulting services or through managed services. So those that have had that sort of a head start, I think, are perfectly positioned to take advantage of cloud and cloud computing and all of the benefits that it has to offer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting though for the ones who don't want to do it. And I hear it all the time when they'll say, yeah, well look, the Insight's doing it. They're not really going into all these other services. And Tiger Direct's not. Well, they've got volume,
right.
Tons and tons and tons of volume. If you're not, they're really not even, in my opinion, they're not a technology company. They're a marketing company,
right.
And they do a great job.
Right.
But the VARs who are sitting there, the normal, the ones that you deal with every day, I guess you deal with the other ones too, but the ones that we're talking about now, the smaller players who are going after the companies with the 10 and 20 and 30 seats if they're lucky, and 30 is a big customer for them. They can't, I just don't understand how they can even think for the moment that they're going to be able to survive. If they don't go into these.
That's absolutely true, and the good resellers, which there are many, many great resellers out there, many of which are our customers, they're going to be told by their customer base what they're going to need to do. And I believe that wholeheartedly, that their customers are going to change the way that they support them into the future. And as CIOs and business leaders adapt to these new alternative computing models, they're going to realize that when they use Netflix at home and realize the benefits of using Netflix versus getting in your car and going to Blockbuster, the physical world, and buying a DVD and bringing it back home, they're going to realize, how do I translate that value that I just consumed in the virtual world and bring it to the corporate world? And that's going to happen, I think, faster than we believe. And resellers are going to have to adjust their sales plans, they're going to have to adjust their sales training, they're going to have to adjust their companies in order to not only continue to support the traditional world, but adapt to the virtual world as well.
Well, if you look at all the things that we've been talking about for the last 20 years, plug and play and always on computing, and solutions for enterprise class solutions for SMBs. This has been the biggest supply that I've ever heard in any industry for years and years. But all of a sudden now, in the last 4 or 5 years, it's becoming a reality, and it's becoming really, really fast.
Right.
If they're not giving their customers this new reality, the customer's going to go somewhere else.
That's absolutely right. And I was really amazed that when managed services really started to take off in the middle 2000s, the biggest buzz in the industry was, how does a reseller now move traditional product revenue in that sense and move into a services model? And you know what? A lot of them did it. They did it because they were forced to do it. It was almost survival. But they also are good business people, so they recognize the value of a services business and what it can do to your bottom line. But the biggest challenge is, how do you grow that? Because traditionally your sales reps are more product-related sales reps versus services guys.
It's all changing.
Yes.
We have to get together in a few months and see, because we traditionally, I think I'd interview you like once a year.
Right. And
it's changing so fast. I think that has to be shortened up too, because everything's changing.
Well, with TD Cloud and the announcement we made today in terms of the way we're positioning our offerings to help our resellers adopt cloud and further their cloud initiatives, with Stream One solution store that's going to launch in the fall, and then with TD Mobility, obviously, with the movement that we have there, I think there's a lot of things that I think we're going to be able to talk about, especially as to how the marketplace and how resellers are reacting to these new, multi-million-dollar service offerings we've developed, and how they're reacting to them in the marketplace. It'll be interesting.
Tech Data's come through for every year that I've not been in this industry.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have no doubt whatsoever you'll be leading the way 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and probably 30 or 40 years from now.
That's the goal. I hope I'm not here that long, but we'll see.
We'll sit in our retirement homes and we'll watch.
We'll talk about the cloud.
About it.
Yeah. What's this cloud? Yeah, exactly.
Joe,
all right, Robert. Thank you.
On.
It's good seeing you.
Likewise.